Okay, so I'm going to dive just straight into this with almost no introduction. It pretty much speaks for itself. 7 biggest pricing mistakes that sellers as well as their agents need to avoid. Things that you need to keep in mind as you are pricing listings. Okay. Now, 2 schools of thought. I've actually heard Mike say this recently, which is put whatever price tag you want on it, it's probably going to sell. There's some element of that is true, but you can avoid a lot of heartache, frustration, and do things a lot faster if you take these things into account. Okay? Would I ever use one of these mistakes that is being made in this current market to deny a listing? Probably not. Okay? But I would use these as guidelines to have that conversation with your client. Okay? So 7 biggest pricing mistakes home buyers and sellers make. So the big takeaways for today: pricing is both an art and a science. Your job is to balance those 2 things into the equation. And this is a script that I use all the time. My job in helping you to price this home is to, 1, get you the best possible value, but still have the highest probability of us getting to the closing table. And those 2 things can often be inversely proportionate, okay? In a good market, houses go up in value, but the stuff in them does not, all right? That's key. If the market is telling something, we need to listen. Our jobs in advising our clients when they're listing a home is, and here's another script if you want to write this one down. Mr. Seller, I'm not the one that's setting the price. Frankly, you're not going to set the price. Ultimately, the market is going to determine the value of this home. My job in this scenario is to use the tools and the resources and the skills and experience that I have in helping to predict what the market is likely to do. Okay? Those are key words and phrases. Mistake number 1, pricing to the unsolds rather than the solds. Okay? So in any good CMA, you're going to have two types of properties, sometimes 3, depending upon your scenario. Every CMA should be based on these 2, the ones that have sold, which is what you're looking to see what the home is probably worth, and the ones that are currently on the market. Those are not the ones that you're trying to figure out what your home is worth. Those are the ones that you're trying to figure out what your price needs to beat. Okay? I'm never one, and this is another script, Mr. Seller, I don't ever want to be the highest priced house in a subdivision. Unless that house is by far the nicest, it's the outlier. I never want to be the highest priced house in the neighborhood, okay? Expired listings can sometimes tell you what a home won't sell for, okay? So if you're doing your CMA and you click the all, and you're looking at all statuses, pendings, active under contract, active as well as sold, you also see expireds and withdrawals. Sometimes those can tell you what a home won't sell for. I wouldn't use it if it was only on the market and withdrawn after 2 weeks. But if it's on the market for 6 months and it didn't sell, then that's probably a price that it won't sell for, that a comp won't sell for, okay? So the pricing strategy should always be heavily weighted towards the solds, not the actives that are on the market. Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm mashing buttons and it's not going. All right, that's just weird. So I'm looking at the right slide here and it's not up there.
Is it plugged in?
It's Rob.
Is it mirror?
Blame Rob.
All right, folks, here's what we're gonna do. I am perplexed. Here we go. We're just gonna do it a different way.
Oh. Okay.
Excuse the borders, but we'll figure this out, okay? Key takeaways, pricing is both an art. Okay, you'll get this in the slides afterwards, all right? So every CMA based off those two types, pricing strategy should be heavily weighted towards the solds rather than the unsolds, okay? Issue number 2, overvaluating the amenities. And in the amenities, I'm not necessarily talking about the HOA, pool, and tennis courts. We're talking about granite countertops, the bathroom fixtures, the high-end appliances they've done. There's actually a term, it's in psychology, it's called the Endowment Effect. The tendency to over-evaluate things just because we own them. Who hasn't experienced that in their lifetime? You may be a sufferer of this psychological condition. I know I am at times. Amenities do have some value, but it is always secondary to the other factors involved, which are primarily location and the size of the home. Okay? So,
is the inverse sometimes true, that you can undervalue the lack of amenities? Like if it doesn't have the high-end finishes, can you maybe you're not reducing enough based on it not having those things?
yeah, there's some merit to that. Yeah, there's merit to that. Any other questions on this? Okay. Sellers that are trying to get the full value for their improvements. Overvaluing the improvements sellers have made to the home. So, 10 years ago, they bought the home for $500. 5 years ago, they put $50K into the kitchen. 2 years ago, they spent $25 on the roof. So at the very least, if the home hasn't appreciated in value at all, they should be able to sell for $575, right? Wrong. Absolutely. They haven't improved the house $75,000 for all the work they do. Typically, 60 to 70% of the cost. Okay. Another good argument for when a client is ready to list their house and they're like, oh, I can't do this until I do the paint, until I rehab the kitchen cabinets, until I refinish my master bathroom. Guess what? I cannot promise you, Mr. Seller, that you are going to get your return on that investment. Okay. Typically, it's only 67 to 70% of your value is returned. A great resource for this is Remodeling Magazine does a thing it's like a website or an article or some tools on cost versus value. Check it out. It is actually a very good resource. So some of you that are asking, well, they put a pool in. Well, the pool may have cost $120,000, but does that necessarily equate to a value in the home? And the answer is no. Okay.
Jay, is that an argument? Not an argument, but a conversation point before you go live to say, you may actually come out ahead of a reduced price some instead of you.
Absolutely. I'm one to say I've lost control of the room. Y'all are talking. It's actually an argument to say you may not necessarily want to do those improvements simply because you're not likely to get the return on the investment. It's more apropos to price it according to the condition that it is in. Not to mention, you may want to paint every wall in the house agreeable gray, and somebody else is going to come in here and go, this place is a battleship. It looks like a battleship. I don't want agreeable gray. Okay? So, there is a shoe for every foot. All right? There is a buyer for every house. It is almost always in your client's best interest to price it appropriate to the condition that it is in. All right? With the exception of the hoarder houses and things like that. That's a different story altogether. But for the most reasonable people out there, price it to the condition that it is in. Okay? Mistake number 4, pricing based on what the seller needs. Okay? Pricing according to the next home they want to buy, not the home that they own. The shortest answer is, and get blunt, guess what? No one cares what home that you need to buy on the other end. All right? Use the reverse psychology, that the bottom bullet there. It works both ways. If a seller gets a low offer, they don't care if the buyer says, but that's all I can afford. It's the exact same thing in reverse when you're selling. Okay? You don't give a discount based on the need, so don't expect a premium either based off of your need. All right? Buyers do not price in a vacuum, and our jobs as real estate agents, when we've got a buyer, is to do a CMA and determine if the asking price is the appropriate one. One, again, you're trying to balance getting the best possible deal and still getting to the closing table and having your buyer's offer accepted. But at the same time, you have a duty to make sure that the appraisal is not going to be a problem on the buyer side. All right? Questions on this? Love it. All right, love this one. Falling in love with the AVM or the Zestimate. Okay, now, AVM is the automated valuation model. I think is the general term. Most of us know it as the Zestimate. All right.
Yes.
So AVMs are designed for a quick reference for the easy. It's a macro number. Has nothing to do with a detailed analysis. It's computer algorithms. Computers don't see what you and I see. They don't see the competition in the marketplace. They don't see the comps right down the street. Theoretically, they're basing their model off of the comps, but the selection of those comps is the key factor in that. All right. Zillow admits that their estimates have a median error rate of 8%. Here's the strongest argument and the quickest way to shut down a seller that says, but my Zillow's estimate is X. This is an article right there, pulled that screenshot from this morning. All you got to do is Google it. The Zillow CEO himself sold his own house for 40% less than its own Zillow's estimate value. It was estimated at 1.75, it sold for 1.05. 40% less. Next argument, Mr. Seller, thank you very much. Let's move on. Okay, serious. It's that simple. All right. All right, and then the sixth one, pricing in anticipation of this incredible seller's market that we're in right now. All right, everybody wants to get the top dollar, but the strategy of putting that top dollar as your opening list price is almost always going to result in disappointment. Almost always, okay? So you never want to price it where you think the market is going to drive it to. The seller's going to end up with longer days on the market, slow showing activity, frustrated sellers, frustrated agents having to deal with why is my home not selling. Avoid the headache, price it appropriate the first time, all right? Pricing at or below the market will drive intense buyer demand that can then drive up the price as well. You've seen it a million times, dealing with it right now on a listing that went live last Friday that I now have 9 offers for. Okay, we priced it. He actually priced it, the seller wanted to go below what I recommended. Let's do it. And my response was, I can almost guarantee this is going to virtually secure us multiple offers, strong competition, and well over asking. And that's exactly what has happened, okay? All right, and then the 7th biggest mistake is not as you're listing the property, but after you've gone live. And that is set it and forget it, all right? Pricing has always got to be a conversation that you have in setting the expectation with the seller, okay? After you've settled on the price, you need to have that conversation of what are the metrics that we're going to be looking for, all right? How is the market responding to it? And you're going to talk about what is the feedback that we're getting on the listing, both from the buyers as well as from the agents. What kind of internet traffic are we seeing? And that's where you can use our very own golden ruler, the Century 21 tool to tell how many hits they're getting on all the various websites, okay? Showing traffic report, that's where you can pull your showing time listing activity report and show them, okay, here's how many showings we had the first week, here's how many we had the second week, here's the feedback that we're getting on it. And in this market, I'm telling you, if you've got a listing, you need to actively seek out that input. Because most agents nowadays are looking, going, hey, it's a seller's market. I don't need to do the courtesy of a feedback report. First off, don't be that agent. Leave the feedback always. And second off, use that feedback because it is your, it's you earning that price reduction if that's where you're headed, okay? Down at the bottom, price reductions are earned, not given. You have to be able to support your argument if you are eventually going to reduce your price, and these are the tools with which you do it with. Okay, so show track activity report. Have we gotten any offers? Have the comps that we used sold and yours hasn't? That's really, really telling. All right, and what happened to the buyers who came to look at our house? Have they bought yet? That's where you follow up with the people, with the agents that have shown your property, okay? Here's the conversation, and this is the script that you are having to set the expectation with your seller. In this seller's market, our goal should be 3 to 5 showings per week, and for every 15 showings, we want to see an offer, okay? If we are not meeting those metrics, the answer is very simple. It's not that the home hasn't been marketed appropriately. It's not that the photography isn't very good. It's not that, that the market is just not there yet in this area. It's one thing and one thing only. It's the market responding to your price point, all right? 3 things that sell a home: location, condition, price. Can you change the location of a house? Nope. Without significant investment, can you change the condition of a home? Probably not. Price. Okay? Price is the one thing that you can change. And here's your script. I use my tools to help predict what the market is going to do, but the market's fickle. And this has gone a direction that I didn't anticipate, but I'm here to respond to it. And here's what we need to do. Okay? So, if you ever need, in addition to all of that information in terms of supporting evidence, the listing activity report, the feedback report, the golden ruler for all that traffic, here's another good one, okay? If you're having an argument with, not an argument, a disagreement with a seller about, well, I want to go in high and then I can always reduce the price later, all right? Here's your evidence. Do I have the pointer? Hey, I do. All right. If you look at this, this is actually in your MLS. It's in the reports section of the FMLS homepage, right next to the absorption analysis report. All right. This report, if you look, it's broken right down the middle. On the left side is the original price changed. Okay. So any home that had done a reduction in the sales price. And this is broken down by the area, so you can go to area 13 and you can go, okay, there were 85 homes that sold in there. The average sales price change was $724,000, which was 91.2% of the original list price. Okay? So in other words, the people that overpriced and had to change their price later ended up only making, had to reduce their price 9%. As opposed to the people that priced it, the 16 that priced it, the 1,574 that priced it appropriately, they ended up getting over asking price. Okay, so that goes to show if you price it appropriate, it drives demand and it drives the price up. Here's the key telling point. Look at the average days on the market, 85 days versus 16 days. Which one do you want to be, Mr. Seller? Do you want to be having this conversation, 2.5 months from now? Or do you want to be spending your money in the Bahamas after 16 days?
With the areas going away, do you think that's going to be reflected in zip codes?
That's a real good question. I'm not sure. That's a real good question. And this is in there as an area list price. They might do it by county. They might do it by zip code. I'm not sure. But for now, I mean, I literally pulled this morning, so it's there now. So I'm sure they're going to keep it in there as a legacy layer, so maybe this report is still good. Okay? What questions do you have? I feel like I've shoved a fire hose down your throat and turned it on full blast. But there's a lot of information to compress into 20 minutes. All right?
Can we get the slides?
I will, when this goes on Workplace, I'll put the slides in a PDF right underneath it. All right? Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.